Who in this land is the fairest of all? The looking-glass answered, Thou, O Queen, art the fairest of all. Then she was satisfied, for she knew that the looking-glass spoke the truth. But Snow White was growing up, and grew more and more beautiful, and when she was 7 years old she was as beautiful as the day, and more beautiful than the Queen herself. And once when the Queen asked her looking-glass, Looking-glass, looking-glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? It answered, Thou art fairer than all who are here, Lady Queen, but more beautiful still is Snow White, as I ween. What does that mean? Ween like milk? Then the Queen was shocked and turned yellow and green with envy. From that hour, whenever she looked at Snow White, her heart heaved in her breast. She hated the girl so much, and envy and pride grew higher and higher in her heart like a weed, so that she had no peace day or night. She called the huntsman and said, Take the child away into the forest. I will no longer have her in my sight. Kill her, and bring me back her lung and liver as a token. This is not very comforting. The huntsman obeyed and took her away, but when he had drawn his knife and was about to pierce Snow White's innocent heart, she began to weep and said, Oh dear huntsman, leave my life. I will run away into the wild forest and never come home again. And she was so beautiful, the huntsman had pity on her. So if she was ugly, he would just stab her and said, Run away then, you poor child. The wild beasts will soon have devoured you, thought he, and yet it seemed as if a stone had been rolled from his heart, since it was no longer needful for him to kill her. Selfish guy. And as a young bear just then came running by, he stabbed it and cut out its lung and liver and took them to the Queen as proof that the child was dead. The cook had to salt them, and the wicked Queen ate them and thought that she had eaten the lung and liver of Snow White. Why lung and liver? Yeah. Okay, chapter 3. The Great Forest. But now the poor child was all alone in the great forest, and so terrified that she looked at all the leaves on the trees and did not know what to do. Then she began to run, and ran all over sharp stones and through thorns, and the wild beasts ran past her but did her no harm. She ran as long as her feet would go until it was almost evening. Then she saw a little cottage and went into it to rest herself. Everything in the cottage was small, but neater and cleaner than can be told. That's nice. There was a table on which was a white cover and 7 little plates, and on each plate a little spoon. Moreover, there were 7 little knives and forks and 7 little mugs. This is people on the stream. Against the wall stood 7 little beds side by side and covered with snow white counterpanes. Chapter 4. The 7 Doors. 4.1. The Cottage. 4.1. Little Snow White was so hungry and thirsty that she ate some vegetables and bread from each plate, and drank a drop of wine out of each mug, for she did not wish to take all from one only. Then, as she was so tired, she laid herself down on one of the little beds, but none of them suited her. One was long, another too short. But at last she found that the 7th one was right, and so she remained in it, said a prayer, and went to sleep. 4.2. The Dwarfs. When it was quite dark, the owners of the cottage came were 7 dwarves who dug and delved in the mountains for ore. They lit their 7 candles, and as it was now light within the cottage, they saw that someone had been there, for everything was not the same order in which they had left it. The first said, "Who has been sitting on my chair?" The second said, "Who has been eating off my plate?" The third, "Who has been taking some of my bread?" The fourth, "Who has been eating my vegetables?" The fifth, "Who has been using my fork?" The sixth, "Who has been cutting with my knife?" The seventh, "Who has been drinking out of my mug?" Okay. Then the first looked round and saw that there was a little hollow on his bed, and he said, "Who has been getting into my bed?" The others came and each called out, "Somebody has been lying in my bed too." But the seventh, when he looked at his bed, saw little Snow White, who was lying asleep therein. And he called the others, who came running, and they cried out with astonishment, "Wow!" and brought their 7 little candles, and let the light fall on little Snow White. "Oh heavens, cried they, "what a lovely child!" And they were so glad that they did not wake her up, but let her sleep on the bed. And the 7th dwarf slept with his companions, 1 hour with each, and so passed the night. 1 hour with each? Why'd he wake up? This dude wakes up once an hour to switch beds? Who cares? Why? Okay, let's keep going. 4.3 The Encounter. When it was morning, little Snow White awoke, and was frightened when she saw the 7 dwarfs. But they were friendly and asked her what her name was. "My name is Snow White," she answered. "How have you come to our house?" said the dwarfs. Then she told them that her stepmother had wished to have her killed, but that the huntsman had spared her life, and that she had run away for the whole day, until at last she had found their dwelling. The dwarf said, "If you will take care of our house, cook, make the beds, wash, sew, and knit, and if you will keep everything neat and clean, you can stay with us, and you shall want for nothing." "Yes," said Snow White, "with all my heart." And she stayed with them. She kept the house in order for them. In the mornings they went to the mountains and looked for copper and gold. In the evenings they came back, and then their supper had to be ready. The girl was alone the whole day, so the good dwarfs had warned her and said, "Beware of your stepmother. She will soon know that you are here. Be sure to let no one come in." Bye, QK. Yeah, ignore my Instagram account. I'm done with it. It's just that the bot still says it. Chapter 5, The Murder of Snow White. 5.1, First Attempt. But the queen, believing that she had eaten Snow White's lung and liver, could not but think that she was again the first and most beautiful of all. And she went to her looking glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? Looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all? And the glass answered, O queen, thou art the fairest of all I see, but over the hills where the 7 dwarfs dwell, Snow White still alive and well, and none is so fair as she. Then she was astounded, for she knew that the looking glass never spoke falsely, and she knew that the huntsman had betrayed her, and that little Snow White was still alive. And so she thought and thought again how she might kill her, for so long as she was not the fairest in the whole land, envy let her have no rest. And when she had at last thought of something to do, she painted her face and dressed herself as an old peddler woman, and no one could have known her. In this disguise she went over to the 7 mountains, to the 7 dwarfs, and knocked at the door and cried, Pretty things to sell, very cheap, very cheap. Little Snow White looked out the window and called out, Good day, my good woman, what have you to sell? Good things, pretty things, she answered, stay laces of all colors. And she pulled out one which was woven of bright-colored silk. This lace is very cheap. It only costs... You know, when I was little, I thought by lace she meant like lace, like a knit lace, like a crocheted lace. Because on the internet you won't find it below... This lace is very cheap. It only costs 5 something, which because on the internet you won't find it below $10. Just check eBay. What? This is what it says. I swear to God, I'm not gone nuts. It actually says that. It literally says that. Can someone tell me whether I'm crazy or if it actually says that in chapter 5? Am I actually gone nuts, can't read anymore? Look at chapter 5, 5.1. This lace is very cheap. It only costs 5 something, can't read what money that is, which is a bargain because on the internet you won't find it below $10. Just check eBay. It says that. Like, for real, it says that. So would someone please take a look and tell me if this is what it actually says in there? Does it say that? It says that, right? Snow White orders lace from Amazon Prime. Euros. Is 5 euros... How does 5 euros compare to $10 though? Isn't 5 euros... Was that like $7? I don't know. Mass hallucination. Look, maybe there's more. Okay, let's look around for more weird things that somebody wrote in here. Yeah, I don't see anything more that seems suspicious. I guess, guys, is it breakfast soon? Should I like make some like breakfast? Then yeah, breakfast. I don't think I can cook on stream because yeah, it seems like a